Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani, Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Mbedi on the 18th of April, Thursday, which is Zimbabwe's Independence Day. We wish all Zimbabweans, including myself, a happy Independence Day as the nation turns 44. We're going to head into the top stories after the break. Getting into our top stories, the opposition in Togo has denounced the new constitution as a power grab intended to extend the reign of President Faure Gnassingbé. Now, the reforms would see the West African country move from a presidential to a parliamentary system, but the opposition says they are a ruse to keep Gnassingbé already in his fourth term in power. The president's supporters say the changes would reduce the powers of the head of state by transforming the presidency into a ceremonial role. Human Rights Minister Yawa Body Tegana says they will improve democracy in the country, but the opposition says the reforms would allow him to remain president until 2031 and then be appointed to the new position of president of the Council of Ministers, in effect prime minister, continuing his family's 57-year rule. Now, President Gnassingbé came to power in 2005 after the death of his father, who had been president since 1967. The constitutional changes were approved by lawmakers last month. We move over to South Africa, where Gauteng police are on the lookout for a gang of suspects after a 30-year-old man was fatally wounded during a business robbery in Mamelodi East in the early hours of Monday. Residents neighboring the targeted petrol stations in Mamelodi East and West were awakened by loud bangs. Several suspects allegedly entered the two filling stations adjacent to each other and set off explosives that damaged the safes and property. Gauteng police spokesperson Captain Tinswalo Sibeko said the suspects also fired shots and the patrol attendant was injured and unfortunately later died. Now, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation has launched a criminal probe targeting the container ship that crashed into a major road bridge in Baltimore last month, collapsing it and killing 6 people, U.S. media reported on Monday. The Washington Post described it as a criminal investigation and cited 2 unnamed U.S. officials as saying the probe will look at least in part at whether the crew knew the ship had serious systems problems when it left the port. In a statement to AFP, the FBI confirmed that its agents were aboard the Singapore-flagged Dali container ship, which remains pinned beneath the wreckage of the Francis Scott Key Bridge nearly 3 weeks after the disaster. The FBI is present aboard the cargo ship Dali, conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity. There is no other public information available, and we will have no further comment, it said in a statement. Now, Nigerian socialite and businessman Cubana Chief Priest has become the latest local celebrity to be charged with abusing banknotes. The socialite, whose real name is Pascal Okechukwu, pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of abusing banknotes during a court appearance yesterday. Authorities say he threw money into the air at various social events. This is technically an offense as notes fall to the ground where they can be trodden on. The practice, known as spraying, is commonly done at Nigerian weddings and celebrations. The money is thrown for guests to take. On Tuesday, Nigeria's elite anti-crime agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, said it was leading a drive against all forms of naira abuse. The EFCC accused Okechukwu of spraying and tampering with 500 naira notes at events held this year in Nigeria's main city, Lagos. My goodness, that kind of changes the texture of a lot of Nigerian weddings. The name of the Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar can be registered as a European trademark for goods or services in the bloc, a court has ruled. On Wednesday, the EU General Court in Luxembourg ruled that the name is associated with drug trafficking. Correction, it cannot be registered, rather, as a European trademark for goods and services. Now, the EU General Court in Luxembourg ruled that the name is associated with drug trafficking and narco-terrorism and with the crimes and suffering resulting from them and should not be given protection under intellectual property laws. The court upheld the decision of the EU's Intellectual Property Office that refused a trademark application by Escobar Inc. in 2022. Escobar Inc. was founded in Puerto Rico by Pablo Escobar's brother Robert de Jesus Escobar Gaviria, who spent 12 years in prison for his role in his brother's criminal organization. Pablo Escobar, one of the world's most notorious outlaws, was killed in a rooftop shootout with police and soldiers in Medellin, Colombia on the 2nd of December in 1993. Not sure why anyone would want to register a bank under that name. But anyway, those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we're going to be talking to Talent Gore, who is in Zimbabwe on their Independence Day.
Hello, Namibia. Ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
By the Easter shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, please, today you make sure that we are fed. Sorry, it's us.
Good morning. We're hoping to talk to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe. Talent Homka, say Happy Independence Day.
Thank you very much. Today we're celebrating 44 years of independence.
Absolutely. Flope. We'll talk about that at the end of your stories. But first, Zimbabwe has recalled batches of Benylin pediatric syrup.
Yes, the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe has recalled from the market the Benylin pediatric syrup, which is being manufactured by Johnson & Johnson in South Africa, after the neighboring country declared it toxic for human consumption. Apparently, the medicine was registered for use in Zimbabwe last year and has since been used as a prescriptive drug, although youths abuse it with the intention to get high. Well, this was said by the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe. So in a statement, the MCA's Director General, Richard Rukwata, said while the particular consignment identified to be toxic was not in Zimbabwe's database, possibilities of illegal importation were very high. As you all know, there are a lot of people who import things from South Africa to Zimbabwe illegally. So the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe said that while their database has not registered that particular medicine, there were very high possibilities that the medicine was actually in Zimbabwe through illegal means. That particular batch has been recalled from Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe joins South Africa, joins Tanzania, Nigeria, and other African countries to recall the Benylin pediatric cough syrup. He also said that the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe would conduct strict market surveillances and investigations to end the access of the now illegal deadly drug. That's what he called it.
All right. Now, your next story, U.S. has removed Zim's sanctions regulations. Could you please explain?
Yes, I think 2 months ago, the United States announced that they had lifted sanctions from Zimbabwe. So they had just announced it, but yesterday, on the eve of Zimbabwe's independence, the United States actually removed the sanctions. So it actually removed the sanctions that uh, they had restricted on Zimbabwe in 2003, but rather they added a new people on the list. They have now sanctioned individuals like President Emmerson Mnangagwa has been sanctioned, and also the First Lady Auxilia Mnangagwa has been sanctioned, and other members, particularly in government and state security. So I think 2 months
Right.
ago I did go on that.
And so just to be clear, the individual sanctions still stand?
It still stands. It still stands.
Oh, okay. All right, very interesting there. Anyway, today Zimbabwe celebrates 44 years of independence. Of course, for a lot of Zimbabweans, looking back, the brighter days feel like they are further behind us than they are ahead of us. However, a reason to celebrate because Independence Day essentially ended British occupation. Tell us more.
Yes, today Zimbabwe celebrates 44 years of independence from the British colonial rule. Today's celebrations are being held in Murambinda because the government has said that they want to decentralize. They don't want to hold all the major celebrations in Harare. So right now, the president and the ministers and government officials and even the opposition, they were invited in Murambinda by the government to partake in the celebrations. Yesterday, the president and the first lady were in Murambinda hosting a children's party because this year they had a children's party first, and then the main celebrations are going to be held today. So most children from all the provinces of Zimbabwe were in Murambinda yesterday celebrating Independence Day. And the president will also partake, and he will be the guest of honor at the main celebrations of the Zimbabwe's independence today.
All right, and I can hear there's a Zimbabwean in the same room as you, also seeking to celebrate, or at least seeking your attention. Happy birthday to little Matipa, and not happy birthday, happy Independence Day to little Matipa. And thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
Welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
All right. Okay, so Zimbabwe celebrates its Independence Day. Interesting. We're going to head over to the weather just before we return with economic news stories.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Let's get into the economic news stories. Volkswagen plans to invest 4 billion rand in its South African manufacturing plant in the Eastern Cape. This in preparation to manufacture a new SUV from 2027, it said this week. South Africa is the largest automotive manufacturing hub on the African continent, hosting global brands such as Toyota, Isuzu, Volkswagen and Mercedes. The German car maker statement said the investment will be used to upgrade facilities in various areas in preparation for the addition of a third model to its production lineup from 2027. As most global vehicle markets transition to electric vehicles, African markets like South Africa will continue manufacturing and selling vehicles with internal combustion engines for the foreseeable future, said Martina Biene, chairperson and managing director of Volkswagen Group Africa. This will be due to customer demand for ICEs and slow introduction of electric vehicles in these markets, Biene added. European Union countries have committed to end sales of new CO2 emitting cars in 2035, while the US will increase the share of fully electric vehicles they sell to as much as 35%. All right, in our next story, we're going to swing back down to the land of the brave as Namibia's Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Namibia yesterday decided to keep the repo rate unchanged at 7.75%. As such, the prime lending rate remains steady at 11.50%. This policy stance will continue to safeguard the one-to-one link between the Namibia dollar and the South African rand and support domestic economic activity. Now here's a snippet from the Bank of Namibia Governor Johannes Trabachab's speech.
The Honorable Governor just indicated passenger liners, the clients are of advanced age. They need our assistance from all of us if we are to benefit. When they dock, when they get out, they should feel safer. They should feel welcomed. We should improve also our custom services wherever they go. Either they are visiting in our malls. I would like to see security presence there. I went to the mall yesterday after the cruise ship arrived. I have seen the passengers there, a lot of them. It's good for our economy. If they spend $1,000, that money was never part of our economy, and it remained there here. And therefore, there is always direct, indirect benefits from activities of tourism. And therefore, collectively, we should really address this crime against the tourists.
Those have been our economic news stories. Let's head over to the economic indicators just before Ari Hochart brings us the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news. Starting off with soccer news first. Exciting Champions League action that was. Lots of goals that were scored and lots of tension. It was firstly PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, that came back after being behind in the first leg, and they defeated Barcelona by 4-1, and that is to hand them an aggregate score of 6-4 for them to go through to the semi-finals. And it was their star striker Kylian Mbappe that scored twice for PSG in the win against Barcelona. They will now face Borussia Dortmund in a semi-final. Borussia Dortmund also involved in an exciting game against Atletico Madrid. Lots of goals there. It is Dortmund that won 4-2, and that is for an aggregate win of 5-4. And moving on to golf news on international sports news, it's related to Live Golf, that is the breakaway golf league from Saudi Arabia. There was speculation after the Masters that Rory McIlroy will join them for a massive $850 million, and but it was the four-time major winner that in an interview with NBC Sport said that it is not the case. He will remain with the PGA Tour for now, and he said that he's never been offered a number from Live Golf. Continuing international sports news with tennis news, it's from the Barcelona Open that is on the men's ATP Tour, and it is being played on clay. And the big news in the tournament was Rafael Nadal, the 37-year-old 22-time Grand Slam winner that made his comeback after injury, forced him out since January, and he had a good first round. He beat Flavio Cobolli by 6-2 and 6-3. So it's Rafael Nadal through to the next round. In the round of 32, a tough assignment for him. He plays the 4th seed Alex de Minaur. He is from Australia. Other results in the first round, it is 12th seed Cameron Norrie of Great Britain. He beat Harold Mayet of France. It was 2 sets all, but Mayet had to withdraw because of an injury. And then number 2 seed Andrei Rublev of Russia, he's out of the tournament. He was beaten by Brendan Nakashima. He is from America, and the score there was 6-4 and 7-6. That is in the Barcelona Tennis Open. And concluding today's international sports news, it is cricket news. It's news from the IPL, the Indian Premier League, and it was lots of records that came down, and the latest record was it was the highest score that was ever chased in the history of the IPL, and that was the Rajasthan Royals that equaled a score that they made in 2020. It was 224 that they made to win the game against the Kolkata Knight Riders by 2 wickets. The big star for the Rajasthan Royals in this win was Jos Buttler of England, and he scored 107 runs off just 60 deliveries. It is Rajasthan Royals that leads the standings at the moment. After 7 games, they've got 12 points, and just behind them is the Kolkata Knight Riders. They've got 8 points after 6 games. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Now, the defending champions of the UEFA Champions League, Manchester City, lost at home on penalties against Real Madrid, which means Madrid goes on to face Bayern Munich, which got the best of Arsenal in Germany 1-0 last night. These are the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Togo Constitution opposition says changes are presidential power grab. Manhunt launched after robbers bomb safes shoot victim at petrol station in South Africa. And Volkswagen to invest 210 million in South African plant. All right, those have been our stories on Africa. Good morning, and as we said before, and alongside Talent Kore, happy Independence Day to all Zimbabweans out there. From me, Ashton Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jakanaka.